Hi, this is John Goodman. In this webcast, we are talking about the 2019 changes to the Real Estate Commission approved contract. There are 5.5 big changes to the contract. In this presentation, I am not going to say everything there is to say about these 5.5 changes. I am just going to get them on the table for you. At the time we are recording this in August of 2018, the exact language is still in play, but I want to give you a chance to think about these new changes, which I think are all conceptually good changes. It's good for the buying and selling public. It's good for the brokerage industry. It's good. So let me give you a little background first. And the background is that the Division of Real Estate in 2015 committed to avoid making changes to the contract unless it was compelling for them to make a change. And they honored that pledge for 2016, no changes. They honored that pledge for 2017, no changes. They honored that pledge for 2018, no changes. Let's give our regulators a round of applause for honoring those pledges. But the world changes, the markets change, and so the contract is changing in these 5.5 big ways for 2019. Here we go with the list. Number one, there is now going to be a concept where the brokers can prepare a personal property addendum to address personal property that goes along with the contract. It's an opportunity to get the personal property items outside of the contract, which seems to make it a little easier for lenders to approve the loan. Let's be clear, it's not completely outside the contract, because in order for the Real Estate Commission system to work, you will be checking a box inside the contract referencing that there's a separate agreement addressing the personal property issues. More on that in a subsequent video. Remember, right now we're just listing the 5 things. That's number one. Number two, there is a concept in loan objection that loan objection no longer, it makes it clear that loan objection does not include appraisal objection. There is often a concept in a contract where if time is moving this way for you, the deal goes under contract at this point in time, later in the transaction, there is a appraisal objection deadline. You get past the appraisal objection, later there is loan objection, and the property doesn't appraise. Or another variation is the buyer has waived appraisal objection. The buyer is saying, I don't need the property to appraise, but there is a loan objection. Can the buyer object to the loan based on the property not appraising when there is no longer an appraisal contingency in play? And the answer under the new contract is no, the buyer cannot object. This is a seller-oriented change. That's number two. Number three, the contract has been better set up to allow a buyer to submit an offer that essentially signals that the buyer isn't going to nitpick the seller on objection issues. The contract can be written so that there is no inspection objection deadline. There is now only, the buyer can write the offer without an inspection objection deadline and simply have an inspection termination deadline at which the buyer is only supposed to terminate the contract, not ask for changes. Doesn't hurt. The concept doesn't hurt. More comment on that later. That's number three. Number four, this is the biggest. This is the greatest. There's been a concept in the Real Estate Commission approved contract that the lead-based paint disclosure forms need to be executed by the buyer before the contract is formed. Otherwise, the contract is void. That concept is going away. The concept now will allow for the lead-based paint disclosures, the lead-based paint protocol to be completed after the contract is formed. Huge improvement. Some complications that we'll be discussing in a subsequent video, but a huge improvement. Number five, there is something that has been talked about a lot recently, especially in the real estate annual commission update class, which sometimes we call it the mandatory update class. topic of FERPTA. FERPTA is an acronym that stands for the Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. And now there is a FERPTA clause in the contract. It's a FERPTA clause where essentially the contract assumes that the seller is not subject to FERPTA withholding. However, since they're not subject to FERPTA withholding, the seller has to sign the appropriate documents to demonstrate that the seller is not subject to FERPTA withholding, and the seller is obligated to sign those documents. I need to comment more on that one later, not this video. The half thing. The half thing is a huge deal to lawyers. It's not such a big deal to real estate brokers, but there is a half of an issue about the type of deeds. It's a very technical topic. It doesn't lend itself to the end of this video. It's something I've already recorded a video about. See the comments, see the description for this webcast, and there will be a link to that other video. Stay tuned on that. I will have, once the dust settles on the final language, I will have a specific video on this half of an issue about deeds. But otherwise, that's it. Those are the 5.5 big changes that are coming for the 2019 contract. One more thing. Remember, we live in a complex world. Be careful out there. Catch you next time.